Well, British travellers will be banned from France. This amid concerns over the rapid increase of Omicron cases in the UK. Yesterday, the country recorded the highest number of daily COVID-19 infections. Now, our UK correspondent, Olly Barrat, is following this one for us. Naturally, he joins us live from London. So, the UK, Olly, recording its highest daily coronavirus cases since the start of the pandemic. Take us through those numbers and how are the concerns?
Well, actually, we've got updated numbers since those ones you were referring to that have just come out, and the total number of COVID-19 positive cases in the last 24-hour period is 88,376. That is another record, smashing through the record that was set just 24 hours ago from now. If you want some slightly better news, it's that the booster jab numbers are rapidly ramping up as well, which the UK government sees as so key to where we go next with all of this. 745,183 booster vaccine doses given in the last 24-hour period. Also worth pointing out, as these case numbers spike, that huge numbers of tests are being carried out too, at 1.6 million in the last day, according to the latest data. So the positivity rate isn't jumping up just yet, but certainly officials do believe that Omicron cases will continue to take a larger proportion of the overall case numbers in the next 24, 48 hours or so, and they feel that after that, cases will move even higher than when they are at the moment.
Yeah, and let's talk about hospitalizations and deaths. What are those numbers looking like?
Deaths are still trending down. So over the last 24-hour period, we've seen 146 deaths in people who had previously tested positive in the last 28 days for COVID-19. Hospitalizations have been rising, not at the pace that we've seen at previous peaks of the outbreak, but they are rising nonetheless. And one of the real areas of caution that UK scientific officials have been laying out to the British public is that they say, look, even if hospitalizations are lower this time around than they have been at previous peaks when we had less vaccinations going on in our country, then we're still going to find ourselves in real difficulty, because they say that the huge scale of the case numbers here in the UK is going to mean that a lot of people are going to end up in hospital. So real concern from officials here that hospitalizations will creep up in the next couple of weeks or so if case numbers continue to spike as rapidly as they are at the moment.
Yeah, Olly, we're on visuals. We'll let you try to fix that while I ask the next question. And of course, I want to know whether, because you're seeing such a huge spike in infections and obviously hospitalizations as well, could this lead to an adjustment of the red list? Because we know South Africa was taken off that list this week. There was no decision to actually scrap the list, which is what we saw some calls being made for. It's still there and it can still be amended.
Yeah, the UK saying at this point of the Omicron outbreak, it doesn't see that having any countries on the red list to try and keep Omicron out would actually have any effect because of the huge scale of it already here in the UK. It retains the red list so that it could move at another point in the outbreak in the future if it felt it needed to. So that would lead you to believe that the UK feels that the placing of countries in future on the red list would not be to do with Omicron. It would have to be to do with a new variant appearing that the UK was worried about, and therefore meaning that the UK needed to try and keep that variant out of the country. Certainly the travel industry has been really angry about what happened with South Africa and those other African countries that moved onto the red list. Having taken it off, the UK feels it's made life easier for lots of people, but actually lots of travellers are saying at the moment, with all this uncertainty, we're not going to book holidays at the moment, and travel firms are saying, even looking ahead into next year, given the uncertainty that's emerged over this Christmas period, they're also going to struggle to keep the numbers up for the coming months as well, unless the UK government can inject some certainty into proceedings. The UK government position is effectively we need to be able to protect our borders if we can, and so at the moment we retain that red list for the possibility of having to use it in the future, even if we hope we never do again.
All right, and then this is interesting. Some would say it's karma, because France has actually banned travel from the UK.
It has. France saying that it's doing that because of the presence of so much of the Omicron variant here in the United Kingdom. I think the UK has probably expected that some countries would do this. Quietly behind the scenes, officials will say to you, in much the same way as we heard this argument coming from South Africa when it went onto the red list, that this is pointless because Omicron is already spreading quite rapidly in France as well. But I think actually UK officials, given the sheer scale of the numbers here in the UK, even if they do feel that a move like this is pointless, they probably are expecting that some other countries will add the UK to their red lists in the coming days.
So no pushback from the UK government at all?
No pushback. I mean, the UK government is saying that it doesn't feel this will make any difference to the outbreak in France, and privately words like pointless are being used by UK officials, but no sign of any pushback at all. In fact, Downing Street today saying it doesn't see the need to put France on its travel red list because France has Omicron, the UK has Omicron, domestic community transmission is ongoing, so they don't see the need to add France to the red list at this stage.
And then lastly, Olly, since you're seeing these infections so high now, what about any possibility of adjustments to a lockdown there?
Well, that is not being ruled out by the government, but Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, today saying he doesn't want to lock the country down. He feels that the measures that are in place at the moment can slow the spread of Omicron, and he's been urging caution when it comes to social contact, as have his scientific advisors. Now, that may well see the spread of Omicron slower than it otherwise would have been, but those in the hospitality sector are livid about that. They say if you tell people to cut down their social interactions, they're going to come into the pub less often, they're going to go to the restaurants less often, and even if that's what the government wants, they say that that means that government support now must be rolled out for the hospitality and the tourism sectors. The Chancellor Rishi Sunak is heading back from a business trip to California, and we may well see in the coming days some kind of support package rolled out. But Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, has been saying for weeks now he thinks that this Christmas will be much better than last. He's revised that language a little bit in recent days to say that he still thinks it will be better than last Christmas, but how much better very much remains to be seen.
All right, thank you so much for that.